Not every day at work can be a good day. I get it. But hopefully you have more better days than not. Today's show is going to touch on the days that aren't going so well. And it's titled, 3 Reasons You're Stressed at Work and What to Do About It. Please join me for episode 201 of the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. We're going to knock out the 3 reasons, the top reasons that could stress you out at work, and also what to do about it. I was an engineer, and in 2008, lost my job due to the economic collapse. Jobs were scarce. I didn't know where to turn to get help updating my resume. Online services and coaches charge hundreds, even thousands of dollars. I took matters into my own hands and learned how to craft interview-winning resumes. Shortly later, I landed a job with a Fortune 500 company. I've helped many achieve similar success. Now I share my tips to create interview-winning resumes, interviewing excellence, and high-performance growth strategies on my podcast, Career Growth Made Easy. Welcome back to the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Craig Ansell. We are super excited here because we are rolling into episode 201. I know it may be a surprise to you, and it's definitely a surprise to me that we're still around this long and getting great listener feedback and being able to attend shows, events, and occasionally speaking at churches, schools, and even businesses. For today's show, 201 is about 3 reasons, actually the top reasons, that you're stressed at work and what to do about it. So those 3 reasons, just to let you know what we're going to be talking about. You may feel overloaded at work, unrecognized, and underappreciated. If any of those 3 things strikes a chord with you, then you know what? You're in the right place. First, for overloaded. It's no secret in today's time, our economy, we're asked to do more with less. And when we say do more with less, we know what that means. It means less time, less money, less resources. To put it differently, you're simply being asked to do more. Do more by yourself. Sure, you might have a team of contributors around you. You might be a supervisor or manager in your role, but regardless, you're asking your employees to do more, and your company, your management, is asking you to do more. So what used to be a gentle, mellow 8 or 9 hour workday has turned into what might feel as an overwhelming, overloaded day. You kind of maybe grunt when you get up in the morning and you're like, oh, another day. How am I going to survive? I can't wait for lunch, or I can't wait for the end of the day or end of the week. Then that could be a sign that you're overloaded. And some of the ways that we can approach an overload is to take a look back and see why. It might be so big, so overwhelming that you can't understand and recognize it. You just think, this job, I've got to get out of here. Hey, don't get me wrong. There can be toxic jobs out there. There can be toxic team members, toxic management, and these things can negatively impact you and your health. And if it goes on for a long period of time, be detrimental to those things as well. However, the best way to handle the overload aspect is to zoom out. Think of it like a plane taking off if you've ever been on a plane or helicopter or anything like that, or even in a high-rise building. The higher up you go, people start to look really small, almost like ants, and even streets, sidewalks, and houses become so much smaller. What that does, that gives you the ability to zoom out. Rather than be zoomed in all the time and just working down in the trenches as an individual contributor, you're able to work, or rather look, from a higher aspect, a higher view aspect, and say, wow, let me see what's going on overall. And that might help you with your overload function. Here's why. When we're so embroiled in the day-to-day, we may not see the big picture. And that's part of why these 3 things, overloaded, unrecognized, and underappreciated, all go together. The overload could come from the fact that we might be stuck in busy work. That might be administrative tasks or other activities going on, and it's not wrong to do administrative tasks, but we may be misprioritizing those things, and that can lead us to feeling overwhelmed and not handling our day-to-day job functions that are important to the company. That would then lead to part number 2, being unrecognized or feeling unrecognized. If you see that you're putting in the time and effort, the virtual blood, sweat, and tears, and maybe some cases the real sweat and tears, and you don't feel that you're being recognized from your management, your team members, your company, It could be because the work that you're doing while it's producing something, it's not producing the right result. It's not producing results that are important to the company. So you need to think about it differently, not just how hard am I working, but what am I working on? So the way we handle that is you make a list of everything that you're working on, the first 10 or 20 things that come to mind. And those things are probably in the order of things that you spend the most time with. That's not always the case, but it's usually the case. And then you have to stop and ask yourself, with that said, how much time should be going to each task or activity, project, program, and how much time am I actually spending on each one? It could be that you get to the end of the work day, the work week, the month, and you feel like you're still so overloaded you haven't accomplished anything. I know I've been there, and it kind of lets me, kind of makes my mind wander and kind of say, why are they paying me when I don't feel like I'm achieving anything? Well, they're paying me because I'm working hard. They're paying you because you're working hard. Sure, checkbox, but back up a minute. If you're feeling unrecognized and underappreciated, what view do they have? Do they see you and I as hard workers, or do they see us as someone that's busy, but not necessarily working smartly, working effectively, working efficiently? Now, I know that's hard to step back, like I said, and look from that 30, 40, 50,000 foot view or from that skyscraper view down. But start to think about what's important to your company, what's important to the peers around you, to your immediate supervisor or manager, and what are some of your mission statements, your visions, your goals. If you're a company that has those things exposed, and they should be, you should be able to understand. Go on your company's website, talk to your business manager, your owners, see what's important to them, kind of just a touch base. It might sound silly, it might sound crazy, but what you're doing is you're reconnecting to the why that company's there, why that company hired people, what's their goal, their mission, their objectives. From there, then, each tier of management down to where you are, whether you're an individual contributor at the bottom, moving your way up, or you're at one rung of the ladder, such as in supervision, management, you have a task, you have responsibilities, and you have a team to lead potentially. Refocusing on what those things are, those critical vision, the vision statements, tasks, mission statements, will help you remember why you're there. And if that sounds too complex, too confusing, stop for a minute, maybe look up your job description, see the reasons that you applied for that job. Coach Craig, it was money. I get it. Money helps the world go around. It helps pay your bills. It helps you buy the things you need, some of the things you want. More money helps with those things more quickly. But overall, something likely drove you to the role you're in today. If you've been there for quite some time, maybe you've forgotten the key roles, key activities, key tasks that need to be performed and got embroiled in the day-to-day tasks just being worn down. On the other hand, if you've moved into a role and it's relatively new to you, you might understand your job tasks, descriptions, activities that need to be performed, and possibly you're doing well. In that case, you just need to become more effective and more efficient at what you do so that you can then feel recognized and appreciated. If these things are helping you, but you're just not getting to where you need to be, reducing the three key reasons for stress: overload, not being recognized, and underappreciated, it may be time for a quick sit down with your manager. And what that will do, as long as the discussion is focused, framed, and timed in a good manner, has a good schedule and agenda, you can get to the points very quickly, show interest and concern for your role, for your manager's role, and see what objectives they're asking you to perform. Also, if that feels a little bit uncomfortable, and you're like, whoa, Craig, pause the brakes a minute, hit the brakes. Let's back up a minute. If you've been there for quite some time, maybe you have some performance reviews you can look at. Those performance reviews will help you see what they're thinking of you and your performance, and maybe they've set up some objectives, some goals for you. It could be in the form of what's called a SWOT analysis. And the letters are SWOT. We're not talking da-na-na-na, the police department SWAT with an A. It's SWOT. And for the purposes of our talk today, I'm just going to use the first two letters from a SWOT analysis. S for strength, W for weakness. You need to know what your strengths are so that you can benefit from those, and your company, your role, your position can benefit from the strengths, likely what you talked about when you interviewed, applied, and received the job. They saw you as someone strong in that position. And then the other thing would be your weaknesses. We have to be cautious of our weaknesses, and we have to make sure we recognize them, because everybody has at least one weakness. No matter how big, no matter how small, we all have at least one weakness. And if you're noted for those comments, strengths and weaknesses on your performance review, or any type of markup or review you've received on a project, a task, semi-annual, annual basis, use those things to work towards a goal. Where your strengths are, you might want to polish them just lightly to keep them strong, keep up with the current standards, the information. For your weaknesses, that's where it takes a major focus, okay? You need to focus strongly on your weaknesses, because when you work on what are identified by your employer, your team leader, your group, your manager, as weaknesses, if you put strong effort into it, attention to detail, you will go through, more than likely, what is called a step change. This is when you take a significant change. Think of a weakness being graded as like a 60 or 65 on a scale of 0 to 100. Kind of like in the high school and college systems, at least in the US. A 60, 65 is a D. You're almost at that F, almost at that failing point, but you don't want to get there, because then you'd be a sub-performer, and maybe with notice, they'd even consider letting you go. This show is not about causing you to be threatened, scared, or have anxiety. It's the exact opposite. I'm trying to put you in my shoes, where I've been over the years, and also feel your shoes as well. I would say, hey, if these things have happened to you like they have me, I've been through them. I'd be happy to walk you through what I did and how I succeeded. It took some time, but that's the cool part about podcasts. We can fast forward to the results. Once you see those weaknesses and you work on them and you make significant effort, you'll go from a 60, 65 in this virtual example to a 75, an 80, or an 85, or even higher. That is what is called a step change. Rather than just an incremental change, say your strength is a 90 or 92, you're doing really great there, Craig. Great job on this particular task or activity, or in this field of finance or accounting or quality control. If you work really hard at it, and you go from a 90 or 92, you maybe raise the scale by 1 or 2 points to a 91, 92, and then a 92 to maybe a 93 or 4, maybe. It might not even be recognized, the effort that you put forth, because your incremental change is oh so small, hence the name incremental. So I would really focus on the W, your weaknesses. If you have any performance reviews, feedback, customer feedback, internal feedback, that's where I would apply myself, because that will help with being recognized that you're trying, you're working to achieve, your self-growth is kicking in, and that can also help you feel appreciated. When your company starts to recognize the efforts you're putting forth, Craig is truly listening to me when we have our performance reviews. We received some really harmful, negative feedback from a customer recently, and Craig took ownership of that. If you're in those situations, it can be hurtful. It can be emotionally damaging to feel negative, harsh feedback, criticism from customers, whether they're external, the end paying customer, or they're internal, the colleagues you work with, support, and work together on projects. But if you take that criticism, step back from the emotional standpoint, and try, it can be hard, to take it constructively, you can then apply yourself to work on the areas that are factual and data driven. From there, then, you'll be in a better position to minimize overload by focusing on the things that are important, organizing your tasks, and in doing so, organizing your tasks by what is important to your company. That will help you start to get more recognized, hopefully feel appreciated. And eventually, when performance reviews, pay raises come around, that should change your chances, change your opportunities for higher compensation. I hope listening to today's show, 3 Reasons You're Stressed at Work and What to Do About It, has resonated with you, whether you're currently going through that or perhaps were in the past. And if you've done some of these things, I'd love to hear your feedback on social media. You can mention, comment, or reply on any of the podcast platforms. I read them all, or directly on social media at Craig Ansell, CraigAncel. I look forward to hearing from you. And by the way, if you've done something different and noticed a marked change, a positive improvement in your job search, your career history, your work history, I'd love to know that too. I'm Craig Ansell from the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. We're closing out a celebratory episode, 201, 3 Reasons You're Stressed at Work and What to Do About It. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Monday. In the meantime, why don't you follow us on social media at Craig Ansell on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To book a coaching appointment, download our free guides, or join our email list, check out the links in the description below.